4,000 people learned their jobs were gone. That same morning, Block's stock jumped more than 20%. That's the whole story, except it isn't. Because what Jack Dorsey did in February 2026 wasn't just lay off 40% of his company. He said out loud exactly why. And that changes everything. By the end of this, you'll understand the real logic behind AI-driven layoffs, why Wall Street celebrates them, why workers are furious, and why the most uncomfortable part of this story is that Dorsey might not be entirely wrong. And the last piece? It's the one detail that reframes everything you think you know about how this decision got made. So stay with me. All right, let's get into it. Jack Dorsey is not a grey-suited cost-cutter. He's the co-founder of Twitter, the builder of Square, a man who meditates, does ice baths, ate one meal a day for years, and speaks about product and structure the way other people talk about philosophy. When he says something, it tends to sound like a belief, not a memo. So when Block's Q4 2025 shareholder letter landed in late February 2026, announcing cuts of more than 40% of the workforce, over 4,000 people from a team of more than 10,000, the framing mattered as much as the number. Dorsey didn't reach for euphemisms. He wrote that intelligence tools have changed what it means to build and run a company. That a significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do it better. That Block wanted leaner AI-native teams because its number one priority is product velocity. No restructuring language, no right-sizing, just the tools changed so the headcount has to change. Here's what makes that argument internally coherent. Block stated explicitly that the cuts were happening at a time when our business is accelerating. This wasn't a distress move, no bad quarter, no crisis. This was a redesign, a CEO saying that keeping a larger organization would be the wrong call, not the safe one. The market agreed instantly. Investors had just been handed the dream scenario. Growth is intact and labor costs are dropping. Operating leverage. That's why the stock moved 20% before the market even opened. At Block's Investor Day in November 2025, 3 months before the announcement, Dorsey was already laying the groundwork in public. The tools we're using are very advanced, he told investors. We have had significant velocity shifts over just the past 6 months. All the structural stuff is more or less done. Now it's just putting into practice again and again and seeing it compound. The February layoffs weren't a sudden decision. They were the conclusion of a thesis that had been building out in the open for months. That's the boardroom logic. Stated plainly, it's hard to dismiss. If AI genuinely changes output per person, then an honest leader probably has to act on that. The question is, what happens when you look at the other side of the room? Now here's where it gets interesting. When Block cut 931 employees in March 2025, Dorsey sent an internal email. TechCrunch got it. The framing was striking. The cuts were about strategy, performance, and organizational flattening. He reportedly denied they were about replacing workers with AI. Less than 12 months later, AI was the central, explicit, publicly stated reason for cutting more than 4 times as many people. What changed? Did AI capabilities cross some genuine threshold in under a year? Maybe, and that would be its own remarkable story. Or did something else shift, like the fact that markets had learned to reward the AI narrative in ways they hadn't quite yet in early 2025? Challenger, Gray & Christmas, the firm that tracks corporate job cuts, reported that in January 2026 alone, American employers announced 108,435 job cuts, the highest January total since 2009. 7,624 of those cuts were attributed to AI specifically. And since Challenger started tracking AI as a stated reason in 2023, nearly 80,000 job cut announcements had cited it by February 2026. Their workplace expert put it plainly: "It is difficult to say how big an impact AI is having on layoffs specifically, but the market appears to be rewarding companies that mention it." Read that twice. The market rewards companies that mention AI when they announce layoffs. That doesn't mean AI isn't real, but it does mean the language of AI has become economically useful, independent of whether the technology is ready, independent of whether it can actually do the jobs being eliminated. Inside Block, workers were answering that question directly. The Guardian reported current and former employees pushing back on the whole premise. One worker, describing a role that had just been cut, said simply, "You can't really AI that." Wired's reporting described an atmosphere of what employees called performance anxiety, running rampant. Generative AI use required, not optional. People unable to sign leases, unable to plan whether to have children because they didn't know if they'd still have a job the following week. One complaint reviewed by Wired said, "Morale is probably the worst I've felt in 4 years." When Block leadership sent an internal message about the layoffs, employees responded in Slack with a wall of emoji. Thumbs down, tomatoes, middle fingers, clown faces. No words, just contempt. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. I put out videos like this every week, and the best part of this story is still coming. Okay, here's the piece I've been saving. What if Dorsey is right about the direction, but wrong about the speed? And what if the people absorbing the cost have no way to tell the difference? PwC's 2025 Global AI Jobs Barometer found that industries most exposed to AI saw 3 times higher growth in revenue per employee. Wages in those industries were growing twice as fast. Workers with demonstrable AI skills were commanding a 56% wage premium. The World Economic Forum projected that by 2030, AI would create 170 million new roles globally, while displacing 92 million, a net gain of 78 million jobs. The macro story is not cleanly dystopian. The gains may be real. But here's the asymmetry that doesn't appear in any shareholder letter. The gains take time to materialize. The pain arrives immediately. Block's stock jumped 20% the morning 4,000 people lost their jobs. Those shareholders captured that value in hours. The workers are still navigating it. The 78 million net new jobs by 2030 doesn't tell you who bears the cost of the 92 million displaced ones. The wage premium for AI-skilled workers doesn't help the person who just got a separation agreement and 2 weeks to figure out what's next. The efficiency is real. The transition cost is real. And right now, only one of those things is landing on workers. That's the question Dorsey's shareholder letter can't answer. Not whether AI is transforming business, it probably is, but whether the people who built these companies are owed anything more than honesty when the tools change. A slower transition, retraining, a real path forward, or just the truth, however blunt, and a box for their things. So there it is, the boardroom logic that actually holds together. The crack where incentives, technology, and the PR value of AI language blur into each other. And the hardest part, the possibility that this is real transformation arriving before anyone built a net to catch the people falling through it. Dorsey may be the first CEO of a new era, or he may be the first to discover that claiming membership in the new era is extremely profitable. Either way, 4,000 people are living inside a question that no earnings call has answered yet. The stock went up 20%. The answer hasn't come, and the people who needed it most got let go before it arrived. If this one made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. What's coming next goes even deeper into how AI is quietly repricing white-collar work in real time. You'll want to be there for that one.